The central bank new policies have been met with stiff opposition and rejections in some quarters. And officially, a few days ago, the newly redesigned notes came into circulation. And then the Apex Bank came up with yet another policy on the limitation on daily spendings by individuals and corporate organizations. In the Senate, in the past few days, there was some reservation. And I'd like you to take a listen to Senator Bulkachuwa when he was raising an objection on the policy of the central bank on the limitation of cash that could be spent by individuals or corporate bodies in a day. Take a listen to him.
Every day as I sit here in this chamber, I have every day not less than 100 people, laborers working on my farm, and they have to be paid by 5 o'clock. Cash, of course. They don't possess POS. They don't have bank accounts. The last UBA branch in my constituency was closed 6 years ago.
That's Senator Bulkachuwa's initial statement there. We'll be speaking with him much later. Senator Seriake Dixon spoke to length, and he made some inferences on the implications of the policy and perhaps the reasons why the CBN is taking that stand. Take a listen to the former governor of Bayelsa State.
Because you have a national election coming up, because you have not sufficiently dealt with other challenges of insecurity, for example. For now, I think all attention, all focus, security agencies, the CBN, everybody, the political leadership should be geared towards ensuring the conduct of a smooth, fair and free election, the outcome of which should be acceptable to Nigerians. An election that should not be based on tribe and religion, an election that will not polarize our already divided country further. These are things agitating the minds of some people, some of us who mean well for our country. And this, therefore, is not the time, in my view, to rush into the implementation of a policy that the CBN deputy governor has admitted that they had cause to shift 3 times. And if in 7 years of an administration, if in 10 years of the muting of a policy, you have had cause to shift it 3 times, then you think the best time to introduce it and implement it with finality is when you are preparing for a general election, when you have a nation that is grappling with security challenges, when citizens are already angry and hungry. There's too much anger and division in the land. And I feel, in the national interest, the policy is, for me, it makes sense. We are not opposed to the policy. Let's be clear about it. We are talking of fine-tuning our various systems before implementation.
Let's now speak with Senator Muhammad Bulkachuwa, who is live with us on the program from Abuja, his residence. Thank you so much, Senator. I'd like to ask some very quick and direct questions. First and foremost, Senator, do you think that a CBN policy is largely political?
Well, I think it looks so. Even if they say it's not, but it looks so, because I have never been in a situation whereby during election and electioneering campaigns, where people are subjected to a situation where they cannot even buy fuel for the cars they take on campaigns, because if you can't take more than 20,000 in a week, how do you finance, how do you pay for the fuel and the supporters that accompany you, and how do you give them some subsistence to eat on that afternoon, and how do you pay the owners of the vehicle that convey those supporters to your various campaign grounds? So it will affect the polity, definitely. And I think even if the central bank bring forth arguments that it has nothing to do with politics, but the indications are that it will affect the polity more than
your colleague, Senator Dixon, you heard his objection to that policy, and he thinks that the timing is suspect. Do you also have a feeling that there must be an agenda behind CBN coming up with this policy at this time? If they have tried to do it a few times, why are they doing it now? Do you have more fact that you can tell us based on what they explained to the Senate?
Well, I think based on what they have explained, they said this practice, cashless policy, has been on for the last 10 years or so. But in reality, it has been on only in 6 states of the Federation. But then why, at the eve of an election, a general election for that matter, would the central bank say, instead of extending it maybe to 10 states, says it's nationwide? And nationwide has serious implications because the election itself is nationwide. So how do you reason that it will not affect the election? Or how do you explain that it has nothing to do with the elections? Now, we are rural people. Most of us, most of the politicians are rural people. And we engage mostly in agriculture and petty trade. And petty trade means attending market days of towns and villages. And in those markets, you don't go there with POS. You go there to buy things, mundane things like chicken, like beans, like peanuts, like ordinary things like yam and the rest of it. And then you can't dispossess the owner of a chicken, his chicken, and then tell him, I have sent your money to an unknown address, because he has no bank account. And if you say, well, there is somebody with POS who will send it to you later, he will not accept, because he needs to see his money in his hands.
Senator, if I may cut in quickly, apologies, and I'd like to ask this. The opposition party in yes, some quarters are already saying this is targeted at the opposition to impact on the plans that maybe, according to them, that the ruling party is jittery. These are some of the talks going on within the rank and file of the opposition party. Is there any truth in that statement?
Well, I wouldn't say absolutely that there is truth, but what I can say is that, like I said, the meaning or the intention may be different, but what it would look like in practice is like that. And I know many electorates are angry and they are not happy with this situation. So how else can you explain to them and to make sure that you have pat them on the back to ease up their anger? How would you do that when you have not modified or extended the limits which the Senate, in actual fact, has written to the central bank to do in order to ease the
Senator,
limitations
I'll
and the
cut in quickly again.
That local
let me say this, because this will actually is directed at you and your colleagues in the National Assembly, because you are lawmakers. For something that has been described as breaking of the law by the CBN, by some senior lawyers in the land, and they are making reference to how can the lawmakers watch and our laws are being broken by the CBN, and this is a premise on which they have held that grounds. One, they're saying in the section 2 of the Money Laundering Act that the action of the Apex Bank is illegal. And now they're saying that since the Money Laundering Act of 2022 fixed the maximum cash withdrawal to 5 million naira for individuals and 10 million naira for corporate body, that if that law has not been amended, that whatever decision the CBN has taken is unlawful. And the accusation is that why will lawmakers allow these to go on when you know what the law says and it has not been amended?
Well, the truth of the matter is that the National Assembly has already passed a law governing the conduct of the central bank and how they carry on their activities. And that law allows them to adjust all these limitations. And if you remember, the central bank said they asked for the executive approval from Mr. President before they announced and started implementing these limits. So the National Assembly is left with no choice except to go back to the original law. We have the power to amend the law and now make it difficult or even impossible for central bank to do what they are doing now. But the trick there is that we are short of time. We are short of time because according to central bank and according to the previous laws, this action will be legal as from 31st of January. Now, I am not sure if we go by the procedures that we follow to enact or change laws and amend laws, we can do this and finish before the 31st of January. Because don't forget that we are mandated to go on break, on recess for Christmas and for New Year. And then before we do all that, we want to make sure that we have passed the 2023 budget for Mr. President to sign and make it legal and effective by 1st
Senator
of January.
Mohammed Bulkachuwa, sitting senator in the National Assembly. Thank you so much indeed for your thought. We'll be monitoring and looking at what, how the scenario pans out in the National Assembly. Thank you so much sincerely for talking to us.